Hello, my name is Rohak and I'm the founder of EmpowerCode, an initiative promoting the intersection of technology and social activism in an effort to empower youth. In the previous episodes, we did as much as we could with HTML and CSS, but there's always more to be done. In today's episode, we'll be exploring a really fun and cool concept known as pseudo classes. In addition, we'll be adding to our form to really make it pop out in our website. So what are we waiting for? Let's begin. Alright, let's start off with the obvious question at hand. What even are pseudo classes? A pseudo class is a keyword added to a selector that specifies a special state of the selected elements. Does that sound complex? Don't worry, let's go over this together. Think of a website. You have a beautiful homepage and a navigation bar located in the header. When your mouse hovers over one of the hyperlinks, the link changes to a shade of white. When you select an input box in a form, the border immediately changes to another color. This is what a pseudo class is all about. They're used to style special states of an element and add a sense of professionalism to the overall user experience. All pseudo class selectors are prefaced by a colon and in some cases 2 colons. But for today, we'll only be focusing on those with single colon notation. So what are we waiting for? Let's explore these pseudo classes and get started. Alright guys, I am here on my website and looking at our header we have a navigation bar, and down below on our page, if we scroll down, we see another hyperlink linking to our car gallery page. We want to make it so that when the user hovers over any link on our website, it changes color. So how do we do this? Well, here in our style sheet, we first write the name of this tag, which is our A tag. Next, after our A, we add a colon indicating that this is a pseudo selector. Now we type in hover because this is the state we want to modify. Awesome. Now inside our pseudo selector, let's simply change the color of our hyperlink. Alright, great. Now let's do the same for the active state, which speaks to when the link is actually being clicked on. So let's repeat the steps and change the color to white this time. So here, as you can see in our second pseudo selector, we modify the active state by specifying it in our colon, and then we assign the color to white. Awesome, now our hyperlinks are finished. Let's go ahead and move on to our form. At the moment, it looks dull, boring, and rather unprofessional. This is where pseudo classes can make all the difference. First, let's style the input tag individually with the valid state specified. The valid selector means that if the input is valid, or essentially if something has been typed into the field, then the changes will be made, usually to the font color and attributes. So to do this, we simply type input, then valid. Here we simply set our color to green. So now let's look at the changes we made relative to our actual website. So here, whenever we hover over a link, it changes to a nice shade of orange, and whenever we click it, it briefly turns white. And finally, if we type anything in our form, such as this, it turns to a nice little green color, which notifies the user that their input is valid. Great, now let's style our input tag with a descendant selector. So here we simply changed the border to be circular instead of rectangular, and did this by increasing the border radius property. Now this is where things get really interesting. We want to style all the input tags in our form, but remember, the submit button at the bottom of our form is also counted as an input. So how can we get past this? Well, first we type in the tag name, which is input, and then we add some square brackets and then type in type equals text. This is what is called an attribute selector. An attribute selector is denoted by square brackets and bases the styled element off of its attributes. If we look back at our original code, we specified the type of all the input tags as text, and the submit button was classified as submit. This is a perfect use of the type attribute. By specifying text as the type, we are now only looking at the input fields we want to customize. Now I'm wrapped up with this selector, but let's see what's going on inside. So the first thing we did is we added some padding to add an element of white space on the left and right side of our form. Then we increased the typing space within our field, set a nice border, and removed the outline to make it look clean and professional. Now let's go ahead and customize the submit button. Here we specify the type as submit, and now we are only looking at our submit button. So now let's go ahead and discuss our changes. So first, we set the font family to match that of our previous form elements. Then we increased our font size by a little, changed our color, and expanded the overall size or width of the button. looking at our form, and this already looks a lot more professional than what we had before. Now let's combine a pseudo selector and an attribute selector to customize what happens when the user interacts with our form. So the first thing we do is we type in form and specify the type as text for our input field. Now here we add a colon to indicate a pseudo selector and type in focus. Then we add our curly braces, and now we have combined a pseudo selector and an attribute selector. Focus is the state we want to specify because we want to customize what happens when the user actually clicks onto our field. So here we set our border to a solid shade of gray by specifying the 3 pixels as the dimensions, then specifying the color as gray. Now whenever we click on any one of our input fields, this is what happens. How cool is that? Now our site is really coming into shape. Now let's go ahead and customize our submit field. Now that we've specified our type as submit, we can now add a colon and type in hover to denote that this is a hover selector for our submit field. Here we change the color to coral and change the border color as well. Now when we hover over our submit button, it turns to a nice shade of colors. Looking through our pages, and our website just flows together. We have images, headers, forms, and footers to close off our pages. Looking at the car gallery, and we start off with a bold header with the car directory name on it, and then as we scroll down we see examples of supercars, street rides, and finally we see our very own Bugatti Chiron. This is what a website is all about, making a distinctive narrative and sharing your own unique message with the rest of the world. Now our form looks absolutely stunning, our page looks well formatted, and our website is, as of now, a finished product. Throughout this course, we have learned so much, and in the upcoming videos, I will teach you how website creation relates to the bigger picture. I will outline steps you guys can take to go beyond the scope of this course and explore your own interdisciplinary passions through the scope of creating a website. So stay tuned for these last couple episodes to see how a website can carry your voice across the globe. Thank you so much for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.